Get in, lads. Welcome back to the Unfold Podcast. Today we're going to cover CONCACAF in 2025. That covers the likes of which teams are going to have the biggest year, which teams are going to have the worst year, which teams are going to progress or regress, which players are going to pop up. I don't know. But we're going to cover everything. But before we do, let me know in the comments down below which team you think is going to have the biggest 2025, and we're going to respond to as many as we can. So I'm going to start by asking you guys the same question. Which CONCACAF team is going to have the biggest 2025?
About to hit you with a shocker, Elijah, right here. Guess who? Take a guess.
Go ahead. No.
Mexico, baby. We're on the up. Everything's looking good. We're on the up. We're firing on all cylinders. Santi's firing. Raul Jimenez is firing. I mean, it's looking good. I just gotta ruin it, bro. He's on the up. He had a great game against Aston Villa. I mean, he's on the up as well. I mean, Johan Vasquez had another amazing game. Come on, guys. We're on the up here, Positive results only. Positive vibes only over here in the Mexican camp. But I'm excited. Positive vibes only, But I'm excited. I really am. I'm excited for the Nations League games in March. I think we're actually going to do really good in those against Canada. I'm excited to see what we do against a really good opponent, especially, the way Canada's been playing, But not saying been playing because they haven't played in a while, but you know what I mean? Like their form prior to the last international break and all that jazz. But I'm excited. I'm excited to see where we're going. Chino Huerta is in Anderlecht now. I mean, he got a crazy reception when he went to the game. So they're already chanting his name and stuff. So honestly, we're on the up. A lot of players are moving to Europe, or rumored to move to Europe. Might I add? Even Edson's rumored to go to Serie A. Nope, Monaco. You say Monaco?
That was a rumor you sent on the group chat. Monaco.
Oops, that's not Serie A.
Nice.
That's Ligue 1. My bad. My bad. I forgot the name. I thought it was Serie A. I didn't know it was Monaco. So you know what? At least I know it was in Ligue 1. Okay, let me be. But yeah, I'm excited. I really am. I think all of the pieces are slowly coming together, and I think this past window we saw, Raul Jimenez finally bringing that club performances and form to the international stage, and I'm happy for him. I dogged on him a lot, I'm not gonna lie, but I'm very happy for him right now. He's putting up stats than he did prior to the head injury, so he's back. He is back. So happy for him. Just hopefully he doesn't score against West Ham tomorrow, but I know he will because he always does. But anyways, I digress. Mexico, that's my pick. I mean, it was pretty obvious I was gonna pick.
There you go.
I'm gonna go the other of the big three. Canada. I think. I mean, not surprised. I feel like they're one of the ones on the up right now. We've seen it for a little bit since Jesse Marsch took over, but I think they're just gonna get better. Their players are just gonna develop more. They have some great young players already, and then there's some players that I think can be even better or will be better. I think the defenders, especially like someone like Bombito. Who are just more game time. As a defender, you need more game time. Get used to get that experience, and you're just gonna get better and better. And the hope is that Jesse Marsch takes these guys to a trophy, and I want to see that. I love Jesse Marsch. I think we made that pretty clear. See him get that trophy, get that kind of accomplishment with Canada would be awesome. Because I don't know, Canada they're those underdogs. We don't talk about them too much, or we on this channel do, but overall they're not talked about too much. And the U.S. obviously are flashy with Pochettino and all that, and Mexico are the long-standing ones as well. But I'd love to see a Canada win here. Give them some respect, give them some credit, and some of those players on that team kind of coming together and winning something would be awesome. So I'd love to see a big 2025, some nice solid wins against some of the teams in this and that you guys are talking about would be really nice, which they already have, and I think some more of those would. Just adding it onto the tally right now would be sick.
Yeah, I think I was gonna say Canada too. Canada is an easy out. I think an easy pick because they had a really good 2024. Obviously, 2025 is the year. Obviously, for me, I think they're still the favorites in the game against Mexico as of right now. Meaning they could have a Nations League appearance against the likes of the USA or Panama. And I think even then they'd be the favorites for that. I think you could say they're the favorites to win the Nations League depending on who the USA and Mexico wants to call up. But bar Nations League, let's talk about the Gold Cup over summer too. Canada has an opportunity to win the Gold Cup, which I think would be huge. Obviously, we don't know if the USA is going to send a B team. they're kind of in a weird position in comparison to the last or to every World Cup ever, really, where we haven't had to deal with a home World Cup like this one. So the USA, because they don't have to do World Cup qualifiers and all that, they might send an A team to the Gold Cup. I'm not sure, but if they send a B team or an A team, Canada still need to go out and win that. I think a Gold Cup under their belt in this era of CONCACAF football would be huge for Canada, and I think they could do it. Again, they're already in the semis for the Nations League. Can't get any worse than that, and even that's great. They should be pushing a final. Gold Cup, at the very worst, I see them finalists. I don't see another USA Mexico, even though that's what they're going to try and make it. From CONCACAF. I think Canada's going to be in or around there for sure. So yeah, Canada's 100% going to be a top 2025. But which team is going to have a disappointing 2025? And I'm going to start here for this one if I can. The team that's going to have a disappointing 2025, I think, is going to be Mexico. So,
shock! What a shock!
Yeah, no, because okay, hear me out, right? Like, I do think Mexico can have a good season, a good year, and to be fair, they are starting very well. I don't know if you guys had seen the team they called up a few days ago for the January camp. It's a full Liga MX team, but there's a lot of really good youngsters in that team. In particular, Elias Montiel, 19-year-old in the midfield. Javier Aguirre is giving opportunities to all these players, and it's good. Don't get me wrong. It's just when a lot of the Mexican players are in form in Europe together in recent history, it doesn't really translate to the Mexican team, right? Santi is firing, but he's been firing for a while, and that's not translating, and it never really translates to the Mexican national team.
He's got that push with Raul. He's got top competition though.
No, absolutely. But regardless, okay. Raul Jimenez is in decent form this season, but he goes through waves of form. Like I said, he had really good form, and then he went like 9-10 games without scoring a goal, and now he's scoring goals again. So Raul's still kind of up there. Chino Huerta still has to adapt to his new place in Belgium. We haven't seen how he is over there. I just don't know about Mexico, right? Mexico are still in that weird spot between amongst Canada and USA, where I think Mexico to have a good 2025 means that they're over the hump of those two teams. You know what I mean? I just don't see that happening. I don't think you can consider them having a good 2025 without them beating one of the two consistently for a trophy or something. I just don't see it happening right now. So I do think 2025 is going to, in general, be a disappointing year for Mexico. Because I just think Canada's going to get better. USA is going to get better. I just don't think Mexico is going to get as much better as they need to be on top again this year. And you know Mexico fans, they're not going to settle for a finals appearance, maybe two. Like Mexico fans, it's trophy or nothing. If there's no trophy and I don't see a trophy happening this year, it's a disappointment. So
we got a real good shot to the Nations League. I'm gonna tell you.
No, they do, but they're playing Canada in the semis.
I'm not scared of Canada. I ain't scared of one.
They are.
I'm not. I'm confident.
Who do you guys think is going to have a disappointing season then?
I'll go. I think following on in a year of trends, it'll be Jamaica once again.
Wow.
Oh.
I see this another repeat, another little Groundhog Day, if you will. I just it's too much of me was just like crushed. And
he's lowering his expectations, so
I'm lowering the expectations.
When it happens,
I have yet to see something
hyped.
And I have yet to see something that really gets me there. Of course, they have a new manager, and that's great. And of course, they're trying to get some players. Is Greenwood, is that official yet? Do we know? Is that coming along?
Nope.
He's just playing.
It's been up and down.
Teasing him the entire time.
The reason it's not fully done yet is because he has a good chance at making the England team if Thomas Tuchel wants to bring him in. He has the quality to be there. Once he's given a no, then he'll go to Jamaica. But yeah, it's not official yet.
So as much as we despise Greenwood over here for the things, but he is a great player. Undeniably, he is a great player. So with that being said, if Jamaica were to get him, would be good. But they don't have him yet. That's not great. And I know Elijah, will probably have a lot of arguments here, and that's fine. I totally get that. But for me, it's just I haven't seen anything yet, and just the stuff on paper then is not enough. I gotta see the real deal at the end of the day. That's all that really matters. And until I'm proven wrong, I'm gonna go with Jamaica, and it pains me. But
I mean, like it's it's not an invalid thing to say. Jamaica have had disappointing seasons for fucking ever. So like it's a very good shout to make because Jamaica could very well be in the same spot they are as last year. But I do think I think it's not going to be as disappointing as last season. I think last season was a lot. There was a lot happening where they could have been disappointed, if that makes sense, right? They had Copa America. That was a big disappointment. The Nations League ended up being a big disappointment. You could, a lot of them, and we were, I don't know about disappointed, but saddened by the first Nations League, the end of the Nations League at the beginning of the year. And you're right, there's a new manager and a couple dual nat switches. I think this season, I think it's going to be harder to be disappointed this year because there's less to be disappointed with, if that makes sense. Jamaica has the Gold Cup. Jamaica should do very good at the Gold Cup. I think the Gold Cup will be a perfect opportunity for Jamaica to come back and say we're still here. And then they still have World Cup qualifiers. And, I don't think it's going to be disappointing because I think by the end of the season, we're going to say Jamaica did good enough, maybe a semifinals appearance in the Gold Cup, and they're going to qualify for the World Cup. If those two things happen and maybe you get a couple more dual nat switches, successful season. I just don't see it being a disappointment as big as it was last year. But it's again still a valid thing to say because again Jamaica has only been disappointing to people who have set their expectations high. Andres, your team, that's going to be disappointing.
See, I could say a team just in spite, you know what I mean? Like no logic, just straight up, and it wouldn't be
typical Andres response.
Typical response, but I've decided that all three of the big teams in CONCACAF are on the up in some regard. There's something to look forward to, something positive. And I'm actually agreeing with the Diego here. I was going to say Jamaica, and not for the same exact reason, but I think their ceiling is high enough where the point where it's not obtainable. You know what I mean? They have a lot of things going for them going into this year, but I think they have the biggest downfall possible. You know what I mean? Like look, they got World Cup qualifiers, right? They don't have to compete against the big three to make it to the World Cup this time around, but they have to get it done against the veteran, and I don't know if they're up to the task. You know what I mean? I think they're able to rise to the occasion, but I think at times when they play against a lower level team that they're better than on paper, they lower their level of play, their quality, and they play at that level. You know what I mean? I'm gonna say them just because it would be tragic if they didn't make the World Cup, and I think that would just destroy the entire year. No matter how well they do in any other competition, not making the World Cup when this is probably their best chance to make the World Cup would be tragic. And also, the attack is still questionable. Let's be real. They especially, they don't really have a striker now at the moment. Michael Antonio, unfortunately, he's not going to be out for a while. And Mason Greenwood's been a what if for seems like ages now. So it's just kind of teasing them at this point. But there's potential. There's potential. I see Elijah's points, but I think they have the biggest downside in that regard of failing, and that's why I'm picking them. But I hope they do good. But there's a lot going for them. But at the same time, I feel like old habits are going to creep in, and they're going to not reach the expectations everyone's hoping for from the country of Jamaica. So that's my thoughts. I'm sorry.
That's a good way to put it.
But
yeah.
you have such a high ceiling. There's a high ceiling, and I don't know if you'll be able to do it.
Yeah, the way you put Andres, I think, is the right way to put it. 100%, they have the highest ceiling. I mean, Jamaica should be in the World Cup. If Jamaica's not in World Cup 2026, the JFF needs to look at themselves, look inward, and see what the problem is. Because Jamaica needs to be there, right? And if that would be a humongous disappointment if Jamaica is not in the very local 2026 World Cup, the biggest World Cup ever that we've ever had in terms of teams. If Jamaica's not there, it'd be a humongous deal. So yeah, you're right. I do think so. And I would like to say the same thing with the Gold Cup too. I mean, again, USA might bring a B team. Maybe Canada and Mexico do too. I don't know. Not having a good Gold Cup appearance for Jamaica would really make it hard to be confident in them for the World Cup when they comes around and if they qualify. Jamaica obviously have yet to really show that they can compete with the big boys of the world, not just CONCACAF. They can compete with the big boys in CONCACAF here and there, but the world is a different story. The world is just, there are teams in the world that are way different levels than the teams locally here. If Jamaica can compete with Gold Cup teams don't have high expectations for them in the World Cup 2026. But so you're right, Andres. You're right. They do have the highest ceiling out of a lot of these teams. In my opinion, they have the highest ceiling out of any non-Big Three team in CONCACAF.
Yep,
Which
I
means
agree.
that it is the hardest for them to reach too. It's very hard. Okay. Conversely, is there any team that you guys have an opinion on that is going to have a big 2025 on? Sorry, let me rephrase that. They're going to make the most progress 2025. Obviously, I said who's going to have the biggest 2025 earlier. I'll go first. I think Costa Rica is going to have a huge 2025. They just hired former Mexican head coach Piojo Herrera. He is going to be the new manager
Huge
over
though.
there, and he's a huh?
Said
What?
huge. That's huge.
It's huge. It's huge for them. He it's going to be a big addition.
I'm
Costa Rica have a
salty.
lot of players on the come up, and there's an opportunity for them to really make a name for themselves in CONCACAF again. Obviously, Costa Rica have somehow always been in World Cups. Costa Rica are just one of those teams that like tend to be in the World Cup with Keylor Navas, and obviously they're good. You just never see them in the ends of CONCACAF tournaments, but I think they're gonna have a big year. Like I said, they have a lot of good players, a lot of younger players with a new good manager. Either they're gonna go straight to the top with Herrera, or they're gonna here he's gone in a few months. So Costa Rica. Is there any other team that you guys have an opinion on that
You know,
might?
I was gonna say Costa Rica because I was actually really hyped about the manager signing. I thought
Mm-hmm.
Herrera was a great pickup, and I think, and he's able to whip a team into shape. And they had a good Nations League though. I'm not gonna lie, that they were in the quarters. No, that was a crazy game. I mean,
Yeah,
that
against
we
Panama.
played, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, that was a
they
crazy game.
barely
That
didn't
went
make it
down.
to the semifinals. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they like had like a bunch of goals disallowed at the last second. So like, I mean, tough one. But I think with Herrera as the manager, I think there he's able to whip them in shape, a little bit more organization, a little bit more passion, a little bit more fire. That's what we saw with his Mexican sides. Was a lot more passion, a lot more fire. So that's what you need in football, especially in the international stage. You need that type of intensity to actually do well because yeah, at the same time, you don't have the ability to play with everyone every single day like you do in the club level. So being able to rock up and be able to gel really quickly is probably his strongest suit, I would say. So I think that was the team I was gonna pick. I think development wise, you said development wise, correct? I was gonna also add the United
Yep.
States just because of Poch, just because I'm curious to see how good they do with him. We saw glimpses before the end of the international window, but they granted it wasn't their full squad, their full ace team. So I'm curious to see what, when given time, they'll be able to cook up. So
Yeah.
that's my pick.
Piojo also just knows CONCACAF, right? He's a very veteran, very big veteran Liga MX manager. He was Mexico manager for a couple years there. He knows how to deal with CONCACAF opponents. I think Costa Rica needed that. He was a great signing for Costa Rica, and I think they're going to put him back. He's going to put him back on that level as Panama. We saw that recently, like you said, in that quarterfinals game. And I feel like Panama has kind of gotten the edge over Costa Rica over the past year or two. Panama has been that pretty certain that fourth best team in CONCACAF. Pretty unrivaled fourth best team in CONCACAF. I think it's time for Costa Rica to step that up, especially ahead of the World Cup. It's a great signing ahead of the World Cup because Costa Rica are, I don't want to say a lock, but pretty confident that Costa Rica are going to be in um, in the World Cup alongside probably Panama, maybe Jamaica. It's a perfect signing. Diego, do you have any teams that you think are going to be have a big step up 2025?
I'll be honest. I have one team. I don't know too much about them, but just from the little I've been able to look at, they look pretty impressive. I like Honduras a lot. Honduras, I
Yeah.
think, is one of those teams that yes, they did lose to they did lose to Mexico,
Hold that,
um,
choke that lead
but
again. Hold that, bunch
but
of
they won that
chokers.
first game, and even before then, like I was taking a look at some of their, because I'll be honest, I haven't seen their games, but looking at their stats and some of the players on there, I was like, oh, hold on, this is piquing my interest here. They have, every time they play Jamaica, they've always been really dominant on possession, shots on target, and their total shots, and even some of their like the expected goals. Obviously they haven't always been able to beat them, but every time I see them, I'm like, okay, they're really impressive. They maybe don't have that firepower that takes them up that spot that they want, but I like the look of him, and maybe someone who knows him a little better might be able to be more in depth. But I think Endure should be someone you should keep an eye on.
So really quickly before we end, I want to add one more team to this development, to this big step up 2025. I think it's going to be Suriname. I think Suriname have a huge shout of getting into that World Cup qualification spot. They topped their group. Suriname, and I've mentioned them here and there in videos. Suriname are on the come up. Suriname have been on the come up for years now. They just haven't gone over that hedge yet. Suriname has a great team on paper. They had the likes of Geraldo Becker is one of their main attackers, and you know how good he is. Their defense, almost all of them play in Europe. Every single one of these players play in Europe for top teams: Trabzonspor, Venezia, QPR, Middlesbrough. MRB, 2 players play for MRB, a player for Sparta Rotterdam, player in Moscow. Even their midfield has some great players too. I'm trying. But Suriname have a really, really good team. Suriname are literally the Indonesia of CONCACAF in the way where they have access to a lot of Dutch talent. And I think they should and can take that Jamaica route and get a lot of these dual nats in and try and push for that fifth or sixth spot in CONCACAF qualification for the World Cup. Keep an eye on Suriname. Don't count them out because they would 100% can be in there when it's all said and done. And I kind of hope they are, because if they are, we're going to do a lot. I want to do a lot of content on them. But Suriname can without a doubt be there in the end. All right. Well, unless you guys have anything else to add, I think we're going to call it there for our CONCACAF 2025. If you guys have any bold predictions or anything, let us know in the comments down below. Like I said, we're going to read and react to all of them. Otherwise, hopefully we see you guys in more CONCACAF videos. It's going to be a huge 2025 for CONCACAF. We're going to be there every step of the way. And yeah, take it easy, guys. We'll see you later.